Based on this image, can you tell where we are in Singapore? Why, it's obviously How Sun Walk, located quaintly near Serangoon and Paya Lebar Road. What? You didn't know that? Well, GeoGuessr expected you to know that, and that's what really matters. GeoGuessr is a game that's premise is dead simple. Dropped off somewhere on Earth, you have to pinpoint where you are on the map using Google Street View. The closer you are, the more points you get. And the max score you can get per round is 5,000, and there are 5 rounds per game, so a perfect game of GeoGuessr is worth 25,000 points. Now, the standard game mode for GeoGuessr includes the entire world. That means basically all countries that have a Google Street View attached to it, that's fair game. You can select particular regions or countries to play in, but most players usually just pick the entire world. In theory, the skill ceiling for GeoGuessr is limitless. To consistently get perfect scores, you'd have to memorize basically almost every country's characteristics. Know which country has which kind of lamppost, which country has which kind of roads, even which country has which kind of damn grass. So, instead of memorizing millions, even trillions of images, I'm thankful I only have to memorize millions.
1, 2, 3, 4.
For this video, I'm challenging myself to get a perfect score of 25,000 on the map of Singapore. This means that I'll only be dropped somewhere in Singapore and not in countries like Indonesia or Malaysia. However, because I'm only going to be in one country, I'm adding an additional rule. I cannot move once I'm in game, which means I'm only able to get a 360-degree view of the location and have to try to guess where I'm at based on that information alone. I cannot look up locations, I cannot look up addresses. Finally, in order to get a perfect score of 25,000 points, I have to pinpoint exactly where I am at. Normally, in the standard game modes where more than one country is available, the margin of error is quite forgiving. However, since we are confined to the small country of Singapore, the maximum margin of error is a mere 20 meters. Anything more than that means a score of less than 5,000. And since there's only 5 rounds per game, to get 25,000 points, I have to pinpoint the exact location 5 times in a row. Let's just get this over with, okay? GeoGuessr is a one-of-a-kind type of game. There really isn't any type of game like this on the market. Because of this, they can charge possibly the most egregious pricing I've ever seen in a video game. Not only is it a subscription base, the cheapest option only lets you play 1 game per day. What the fuck? There really isn't any prior experience I can use to my advantage. In the game sense at least. There's no shooter elements, no fighting game elements. This is all in the real world. I guess to those that explore Singapore a lot, or taxi drivers, they'd find this challenger easier than I do. As somebody who lives in Singapore, of course there are areas where I'm more familiar with, mostly the north area, like Ang Mo Kio, Woodlands, Yishun, yeah, those areas. But then, there are places in Singapore where I didn't even know existed. Pakistan Road in Singapore. Admittedly, I realized early on that this challenge isn't too hard. Thankfully, Singapore is labelled well enough that if I spawn within a main-ish street sign, I can recognize it and do a bit of guess and check. Even if I don't immediately know where it is, if I scroll through the maps long enough, I'll eventually find it. Like I said, if you travel around Singapore a lot or just know where the general towns are generally located, you can do well. Now, the real run killers are the ones where I'm in the middle of an obscure ulu-ass landed property. In these spawns, I don't have block numbers to go off on, I don't have any recognizable buildings, and I usually don't have any road signs. And even if I do have road signs, it's some f***ing street only like 8 people in the world have ever set foot in. I mean, Sandwich Road. Normally, whenever I find myself in these landed property areas, I take advantage of the fact that I can move around so I can fish for more clues. But since this is a no move run, I obviously can't do that, and so I'm only limited to what I can see. And believe me, there ain't much to see. Of course, there are also the in-between spawns. The ones where some variables in pinpointing a location are missing, but the available hints are sufficient enough to get a general idea of where it is. For instance, I might spawn in an area that doesn't have any road signs, but have other hints to help me, like block numbers, welcome signs, and schools. One example I'm proud of is this clip, where I spawn with no road signs available but spot a block number and a bridge nearby. There was also a road sign that indicated I was near a school area. Piecing the hints together, I first deduced that we were somewhere in Pongo, since that's one of the only residential areas with quite a lot of bridges. Secondly, I scoured the schools in the Pongo area that were near a bridge. Sure enough, by process of elimination, I found a school that fit both of my criteria. To confirm whether or not I was actually in the right place, I cross-referenced it with the block number earlier and it matched because I'm just that much of a Sigma, baby. So, using those 3 hints, I was able to score 5,000 points on one of the 5 rounds. But, of course, you'll eventually get the round killers, aka where the hell am I? These landed properties will be the death of me, man. Oh my god, I swear. So, you can see that in order to get a perfect run, there is an element of luck mixed into it. Preferably, you'd want to get a run where you can get all 5 of the well-labeled ones, but inevitably, you get either the in-betweens or, God forbid, a run killer. Another crucial component of this challenge was pinpointing, the art of precision. In my early attempts, I really underestimated the importance of pinpointing locations. Remember, I'm aiming for a perfect 25,000 run, meaning I have to be extremely precise and consistent. Since there's only 5 rounds per game, I have to get a full score in all 5 rounds, which means that I have to constantly check to see if the marker that I placed on the map matches exactly where I'm at. There were a lot of times where I just threw the most simplest rounds and got less than 5,000, resulting in a reset just because I wasn't diligent enough. Earlier on, even if I got less than 5k, I'd still complete the whole 5 rounds. Now, as soon as I get a sub 5k, I know it's not worth it to continue at all. Since I'm going for the perfect run, you have to keep in mind that among all of these runs, there are only 2 main outcomes. 1, I know where I spawn, or 2, I do not know where I spawn. If I don't know where I spawn, there's also 2 results. 1, I simply throw in the tower and just GG go next. Or, I painstakingly scour each and every square meter of Singapore in hopes of finding it. If I get incredibly lucky, sometimes it works, but most of the time, I straight up just waste time trying to find it. This usually happens during the 3rd or 4th round, after I already scored a couple of perfect 5k rounds. I don't want to invalidate my prior efforts, so I just pray and hope I can get lucky. Like in this clip, I had a handful of hints available, not enough for me to know immediately where I was, but enough for me to have reason to scour the map. I spent so long staring at the grey void known as Google Maps before eventually calling it quits because I could feel my eyes I could feel my eyes shutting down, okay? Remember how I dedicated a whole section to pinpointing? Well, why do you think I'm mentioning it again? Well, it's because I keep doing it. There were so many examples of this during my playtime. Even if I'm diligent enough, I still somehow clench defeat from the jaws of victory and get a sub 5k. The pain is so visceral. It's like watching Paper X going 1-3 against EG in champs, man. Oh, it was not fun. Now you got the general processes, let me show you some of the more notable runs. On my first significant run, I was lucky with my first 2 spawns, both of which were well labeled. However, the 3rd spawn, well, I'll let you hear my reaction. Yes, I was in a Ulu ass landed property. aka the Run Killers. Seeing as I was on my third round, I didn't want to invalidate the 10,000 points I already racked up, so I got to looking, hoping I got lucky. As I spent more and more time on searching for this cursed road called Jalan Chengam, I was honestly not expecting much. Oh! Oh my god, I actually found it. I actually found the road and was able to get my 5,000 fair and square. Now, this run was getting serious and I locked in for it. Thankfully, the fourth round was a well-labeled one, block number and address and all, so surely that was another easy 5,000. Me and my pinpointing, oh my goodness gracious me. So I ended the perfect run prematurely in the fourth round. I tried to console myself by checking the fifth round because hey, it could be in the middle of nowhere and I would have lost regardless. To my absolute horror, the address was right smack there, so the perfect score was just out of reach again. Welp, back to the drawing board. In between this and the next significant run, I sometimes would get the weirdest spawns. Like, there were occasions where I didn't even spawn on a road. I spawned in the middle of a park, I spawned in the middle of a hawker center, I spawned in the middle of HDB blocks. Surprisingly, I actually figured out where I was in all of these spawns. In the park, I spawned next to a map, which was basically a free win. In the hawker center, I legit just guessed that we were in Marsiling Mall since some of the features there looked pretty new, like the modern washing stations. It could have been any of the newly renovated hawker centers, but Marsiling Mall came to my mind first and it turned out to be right. In the HDB one, I only had block numbers to help me, and the fact that these flats looked somewhat new, which could suggest I was in Pongo. So I scoured the whole of Pongo and I actually found it. It took me nearly 20 minutes of looking, but I still found it. I'd also sometimes get spawned in the textbook definition of bump nowhere, with roads that seemingly do not end at all and isolated houses. Luckily, there only really is one road in Singapore that has this sort of thing, and that's Lim Chu Kang Road. Speaking of typical roads and locations, once you play a lot more games, you kind of get the vibes of every spawn and their respective neighborhoods or general locations. For example, if it's a very industrial area, the most likely places are at Tuas or Kranji. If it's a location that has a lot of shop houses, it's probably somewhere near the central area, like at Geylang or Boon Keng. If it's a very new residential area, it's likely you're at Pongo, and if you're in a very old residential area, you're probably in Ang Mo Kio. Of course, there are exceptions, like a residential area could be near Tuas and you could spawn in the industrial estates of certain neighborhoods like Tampines or Bedok. Also, most of the general residential areas look kind of the same, so even if you do have block numbers as a hint, you're probably still going to have to do a lot of guess and check to confirm where you are actually at. Okay, next run. The first and second round of this were nothing of note. They were all well labeled, so I had little trouble finding them. I found myself in a residential area on round 3, and the only road sign was blocked by another stupid sign. But at least I could see some of the letters as well as had a block number at my disposal. Being a very modern looking HDB flat, I guessed it was in Pongo, so I got to looking. After a while, I eventually found a match. With my pinpointing blunder fresh in my mind, I made sure not to make the same mistake again, and thankfully I got the 5k. On the fourth round, I again spawned in a residential area, and I noticed that we were on a relatively popular road and 2 adjacent gas stations. More importantly, there was a nearby block number and an address below it, but it was too blurry to immediately make out what it said. I spent a whole minute staring at it to see if I could crack it. Oh, that says Bedok North. Oh my god. Oh my god. Careful with my pinpointing. I finished the fourth round with 5,000 points. Okay. We were now in the final round. As I spawned in, I spotted a clear road sign. An actual clear road sign. Was this finally it? I swear if I pinpoint if I pinpoint this. When will I ever learn? Oh my god. After failed run after failed run after failed run, this challenge was honestly starting to get to me. There were times where I'd spend up to 30 minutes looking for a location before eventually giving up, effectively wasting my time. But even if my efforts were to pay off and I do find a location, there's a chance that I might spawn into a run killer in the very next round, invalidating the whole entire run. If I ever wanted to not get PTSD from Google Maps in the future, I needed to get a perfect run now. Okay, next significant run. Again, I got lucky with the first 2 rounds, no trouble. On the 3rd round, I spawned too far away to actually tell what the sign said, but I was close enough that I could make an educated guess based on the shape of the blurry letters. Other significant hints was a SCDF building, a sign that pointed I was near a community club, and the United World College of Southeast Asia. I first tried to guess the location based on the blurry letters, and I initially guessed that we were either at Serangoon or Sengkang since the first letter kinda looked like an S. However, none of these places had the 3 significant landmarks all in one place. My next focus was now on the community club. As you can see, the sign indicates that the community club nearby has 2 words before it, and that narrows down the selection quite a bit. However, like with the blurry road signs, none of the community clubs I could find had a SCDF building or the college. Finally, I tried looking for the college based on the map icons of the graduation caps, but I still could not find it after around 15 minutes of searching. Failure after failure after failure. It was not looking good. Then I had an epiphany. What if the first letter of the blurry sign, instead of an S, what if it was a T? And what is a very big residential area that starts with T? Tampines. So I rushed to the area of Tampines, and to my delight, I found a community club that had 2 words, Tampines Central. Soon enough, I also found out about the United World College of C and the SCDF building. Finally, success. This run was saved. Thankfully, the 4th round was a well-labeled one, so no trouble there. And we were now, again, on the 5th round. We've been here so many times before, please man. In this final round, I looked to be in a residential block area. However, there were absolutely no block numbers or addresses in the vicinity. Say for one. The road was indicated at the bottom of the block number, but to my absolute frustration, it was too blurry to read out exactly what it said. All I could gather from was that the name of the road was between 4 to 5 letters, which didn't really help because I do not know any roads like that. I tried to think of any roads I knew that they were that short, and then I remembered. Last week, I took part in a scavenger hunt located around the area of Juqiat. The starting point of the hunt was at a place called Haig Food Center and Market, which was located at a place called Haig Road. H-A-I-G. 4 letters.
Wait. It could say H-A-I-G. And is it this one? Wait. I might be onto something.
Seeing as I had no other leads, I rushed to High Road and saw a block labeled 4. The condo opposite the block and the road seemed to line up, so it looked to actually be the location, but I've been here so many times already that I still had some form of doubt. Could this finally be
like
it?
To
Please.
and
I took a deep breath and pressed
somewhat
guess.
Possible. Let's go!
Okay, could I have completed this challenge earlier? Of course, there's absolutely no doubt about that, okay? But after completing the perfect run, I realized that most of the challenge really hinges more on luck instead of general knowledge. For example, I wanted to show my father how the game works, so I just booted up a random game, and I actually got really good spawns for 4 rounds straight. It was only the last spawn that took a bit of finding. So, like I said, I'm 100% sure that any person with a bit of luck and time can do this. Hell, not even luck, just like if you don't have my carelessness, you will go very far, okay? Still, with how long this took, I'm proud of this stupid run. I actually have a lot more footage and other runs to show, but this video would have been too long. Anyways, thanks for watching, and if there's any other Singapore related challenge you have, leave them in the comments. I'm already running out of ideas.